Applicant or their representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct its monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay for the meeting and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet at the front of the room. Those wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is, after the application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will have an opportunity to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the board's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a brief rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. I ask that all testimony be kept brief, no more than 5 minutes, and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals shall be heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information is available from the clerk of court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. Now I introduce the rest of the board. To my left are Larry Tim, John Benz, Mark Schumacher, George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner. Terry Polkstead, the zoning administrator, is to my right. First variance to be considered tonight, W. Paul and Barbara Brinkman, Watoma, Wisconsin, have made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph A, paragraph 5, and paragraph A of the Waushara County Zoning Code to excavate a 15 by 30 area on the lake side of an existing single-family dwelling, creating a walkout basement. Add a frost wall, construct a 5 by 15 L-shaped retaining wall, and relocate an existing 10 by 14 foot deck to the exposed basement level. Exceeding maintenance and repair allowed to an existing non-conforming single-family, non-conforming due to side lot setback in the RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreland area. Location lots 7 and 8, Block B, of the Lutheran Retreat Association subdivision, being part of the northeast one quarter, Section 21, Town of Mount Morris, Emerald Lake, W6208 Bighorn Lane. Would the applicant come forward, please?
Good evening. My name is Paul Brinkman, and my wife Barbara is here with me this evening. The application, as was read, I think sets forth very succinctly what the request is. My wife Barbara and I would like to create a walkout from the basement of our house on the lake side. The hillside toward the lake lends itself well to being able to do this. We are a substantial distance from the lake, more than 110 feet from the high water mark. So all things considered, it should be a procedure that really uses the property to its highest and best use, and also creates, I think, a visually pleasing and aesthetically good view for people passing by. Our neighbors that we have talked to have all been supportive of us in this and feel that it will add not just to the value of our own property, but also to the value of the neighboring properties in terms of the quality of the neighborhood. The reason for our request for the variance, our home was built in 1958 and was built in such a position or location on the lot that it does encroach on the allowed half the distance to the allowable distance from the lot line, which means that we are limited only to maintenance and repair without a variance. So we are not doing any increase of the size of the structure itself, and only to add this doorway, this entrance, into the basement area. I mean, it's not going to be affecting the septic system or the well. Both of those are located on the other side of our home. And also, we will not noticeably affect any of the vegetation on the hillside. What we will be excavating is a relatively small portion of the backyard area, and of course we will then be planting perennials and ground cover and so on there also as a protective ground cover to the hillside. Part of the construction plan, of course, also will include the creation of a barrier to prevent any runoff and so on. So I think our plan really lends itself well to protect the beauty and quality of our lake, which is the reason we bought the property to begin with several years ago. We love the neighborhood, we love the lake, and of course want to have that as our objective in all of this, that we're preserving that and maintaining it or improving it. So that pretty much summarizes the request that my wife Barbara and I have of you at this time. I respectfully request your approval of our request for a variance.
Pretty well answered a lot of my questions, so.
Yeah,
Just a few general questions. Are you sure of the lot lines, or has there been a recent survey?
Well, there was a recent survey before we purchased the property, so there is a certified survey, but because of the hillside, I mean, we have the stakes at the corner of the property, and but to just run a line between the two is not possible. So the stake that actually was the point from which we measured when the first on-site visit was done, when I requested a building permit, that stake was actually moved and then put back and moved and put back as other things were going on, either by our neighbor or by myself, never stopping to think that, hey, where this stake is pretty important. So the word was, if we wanted to go ahead and get a surveyor to establish where the lot line is exactly, and if I could prove to you that we were at least 7.5 feet from that point, that it would not be necessary to request the variance. But since there already is a certified survey of the property, and we are satisfied with the boundaries and borders of the property, it could have resulted that the survey would have simply substantiated that we needed to apply for a variance. So the decision was made to simply apply for the variance, giving the fact that we don't have the spot exactly identified, but we're pretty close at 7.5.
You're not going closer to the lot line anyway with this project? So.
Absolutely not, no.
Will there be any increase in impervious surface or changes in the stormwater runoff pattern?
I do not believe so. We will not be, for instance, pouring any concrete outside of the dwelling. That will be washed stone that will be put there with the same type of deck that we currently have in existence. We're simply going to excavate and then take that deck from its current level down to the basement level. And so if anything, we will improve the flow of water with the grading, the slight grading of the lot. One of the issues before we purchased the property was that our neighbors to the east, the Ulrichs, would get water coming off of our property into their sun porch. And we put gutters in place and a drainage tube that would run the water away from that side of the property, but with a slope that will move it more toward our own property and into the, I mean, we actually have two lots there, and the second lot that we own is more of a wooded lot where we direct that flow of water.
Mm-hmm. Any other improvements planned at this time?
Not at this time, no.
And all their setbacks will be met, correct?
Correct, yes.
And if an approval were granted, when would you start this construction?
Well, I thought we would undertake it this summer, but I just talked to Dick Smikal, and he was telling me that they are so busy they don't think they can add it to their list of projects for the summer. We may be exploring the possibilities with other contractors to do some excavating. I did get a couple of other bids for that, so we're looking at what our options are. I mean, my expectation is that we will undertake it this summer and complete the project before winter, but if because of other things interfering for contractors to be able to work on it, it may have to be first thing next year. So,
okay. Any other committee questions?
Your plans say or show a new deck, but it's really relocating that existing deck, isn't it?
correct, yeah.
So you're not adding any, there's no increase in runoff, you're not adding any additional deck space, you're just lowering it from the main floor down to the proposed exposed basement.
Correct, yes.
That's all I had.
Okay, you got anything? Nope. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any correspondence?
We have one letter from the DNR addressed to me, and it says, I'm writing to provide comments regarding the Brinkman property variance request to be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments on Thursday, May 16th. Thank you for providing me with application materials. I am providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and or read before the Board of Adjustments. The department has no comment regarding this request. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Brinkman property variance request. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email, and that's signed Michael Wenholtz, Department of Natural Resources.
And we have one registered to speak in favor. Greg Foster?
Hi, my name is Greg Foster. I live at N3836 Primrose Lane in the town of Mount Morris. I'm a member of the Mount Morris Lakes Management District, of which Emerald Lake is a part of that district. I'm a supervisor in the town of Mount Morris and the chairman of the Land Use Plan Commission for the town of Mount Morris. All three boards have reviewed this and are in favor of it and would respectfully request that you view this favorably and grant the variance.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No one registered to speak in objection. Staff comments?
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the other pertinent data for this application. They also visited the property and viewed the proposal on site and could see, the hillside and everything that was entailed. And the landowner did describe the project very well at that time. This time, I'd like to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for relaxation of a dimensional standard in a code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include an unnecessary hardship is being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards. And if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. Keep in mind, it's the applicant's responsibility to present the case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or nearby violations cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that the existing dwelling has been established here for quite a few years and was built too close to the lot line on one side. They also noted that the project should be protected with erosion control measures while digging out the basement wall. They also noted that there will be no changes to the living space. This was merely adding an access to the basement workshop area, so it would continue its use but make it safer and more convenient to get materials in and out to that area. And that's it.
Okay, that will close the public hearing for the Board of Adjustments. We will adjourn to the first room outside the door. Mr. and Mrs. Brinkman and Mr. Foster are welcome to come in. Planning and zoning will meet here now for their public hearing.
Thanks, writes nicely.
Isn't that a nice
I
pen?
love it.
You can have
No,
it,
no, I
Fred.
don't love it.
You can have it if you really want.
Where am I? Am I here? Yeah. Okay, Bob.
I will call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Board of Adjustments. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately. Submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and reflect their observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration date of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. To my far left, Joe Piaski, Larry Crawford, Fred Gallerup, Terry Dot Poxted. To my right, and my name is Mark Kirschner. The first application that we will hear tonight, and only application, Jamie Lunt, Berlin, Wisconsin, has made application after the fact for conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph B, paragraph 22, and 58-454, paragraph 35 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to establish a home-based business doing automotive and light vehicle repair, accessory to an existing single-family dwelling utilizing an existing 32 by 52 building in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 9.94 acre parcel of land known as the west half of the north half of Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 4383, being part of the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, Section 29, Town 18 North, Range 13 East, Town of Aurora. Fire number W1997 Cypress Avenue. Would you state your name for the record, please, sir?
Jamie Lunt.
Okay, Jamie, the committee has a few questions here, so committee questions, please.
You know if there's been a recent survey on that lot?
There has not been a survey done on that since 2000.
You know where the lot lines all are?
Yes.
Are you planning on any employees outside the immediate family?
No employees at all.
sort of traffic will there be and what sort of parking will you need? People coming and going, dropping off, what kind of traffic coming in and out? How often do people come?
I would say 5 to 6 vehicles per day.
Are you aware of the state building codes and other state requirements and will they all be met?
Yes.
Do you need to do any filling or grading?
No?
What type of sanitary facilities do you have in the building now?
It started as a holding tank, and 2 years ago we upgraded to a mound.
You do have a bathroom there, though, right?
It's
For
private.
customers.
Yes, I wouldn't call it public, but it is there for them to use.
I mean, if they needed
Yeah,
to, they
sure.
could use it.
Are there any floor drains in the building?
Yes, one.
So where do the wastes now go?
Same tank.
Planning an advertising sign?
I do have, it's either a 3x4 or a 4x5 sign out there, which there was no special permits required for that.
Are you planning any other additions or any other buildings?
Yes, funds permitting, I would like to, and I guess this would probably be the appropriate time to ask. A 36 by 40. I have cubic footage of 19,656 feet would be what I would like to do. Would increase the building size by about 70%.
Could you tell us exactly what kind of repair work you do now?
Chassis on light vehicles, cars and light trucks. No body work.
You do any air conditioning work?
Yes.
You do any body work or painting?
No.
How do you dispose of your waste oils and other
I
waste?
have a waste oil furnace for heat.
Do you have any waste tires?
Yes.
If so, where will they be stored and how will they ultimately be disposed of?
They stay behind, which is the west side of the shop, until Auburndale Recycling can come get them.
Are they behind a fence?
There's no fence back there. No. They're-
Visible from neighbor property?
Yes.
Do you have any outside storage of parts or supplies?
No.
Where do you store the vehicles waiting to be serviced?
On the east side of the structure.
Do you do any salvaging or scrapping of vehicles?
A couple a year I will find myself doing.
Will there be any car sales or vehicle sales?
No.
Do you think you need a separate address number for the business if this application is granted?
I don't think so.
Some people do, some people don't.
Is that something that I decide or you decide?
I think you can decide.
I-
It's just if you
I
wanted to
don't
say
even-
Lunt Auto Repair or Lunt Repair at this address.
They know where to find me.
Are you planning any changes to the driveway?
None.
Approval is granted, when will all your improvements be completed?
Are we talking about the proposed structure that I'd like to do? Or are we talking, I rebuilt from a fire and that's ready to go. So we're,
What are you proposing that it's gonna take to get that addition on there, a couple of years, or is that something that, I suppose depends on the funding?
getting back to work. I've been off now, a month and a half. Since March 22nd was my last day of work, so that's going to depend on income, whether I can make another payment.
Are you planning on doing it this year?
I wanted to.
The addition, okay. That's good enough. That's all.
Any other committee questions? Okay. Thank you, Jamie. You can sit down for a little bit. Correspondence?
We have one letter from the town board. It's addressed to me. At a regular board meeting on April 16th, 2013, the Aurora Board met with Jamie Lunt regarding his need for a conditional use permit to operate an auto repair business. After discussion, the board voted to recommend approval of the conditional use, and that's signed sincerely, Jerry Luttrop, clerk of the town of Aurora.
Okay. No one in favor or objecting?
No one registered.
Staff comments, please.
Again, for the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the data that was submitted with this application. I'd like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright, along with uses that may be permitted provided certain conditions are met. That's what we're looking at here, and that's where the conditional use name comes from. It's a use that may be permitted provided certain parameters can be complied with so that the use remains in keeping with the surrounding uses already in the area. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits. Sometimes that's easier to understand. It is the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. One of the things that came about during all the land use planning processes that each township went through is that they did feel that home occupations and home-based businesses were something that they wanted to promote. So I know Joe had kind of asked about that earlier, and one of the things that people do is farm machinery repair in their shop or auto and vehicle repair, and it's something that we did add to our code several years ago. So this is something that is a conditional use in the general ag zone. When the committee visited the property, they noted that there are quite a few vehicles present, and the property certainly would look much better with less vehicles or putting them behind some kind of screening such as a fence or vegetation. I also need to note a couple things. This property didn't have a separate CSM done when it was divided from the larger parcel. I don't know why. That's actually not in compliance with our subdivision code. So I have to strongly recommend that a CSM be done at this time or in the near future to make sure the lot lines and make the parcel a legal land division. Also, there has not been proper documentation of the shop bathroom being hooked up to the holding tanks or mound. So I would recommend that a reconnect permit be issued and an inspection be done to ensure that everything is okay with this aspect of the project. And finally, I was not aware that there was floor drains, that's what they're called, floor drains in the building, and those wastes are considered toxic or industrial waste and need to go to a separate holding tank and then be handled. Usually they need to be disposed of at a municipal treatment plant because they are. Yeah, you'll need to talk to DNR about it. I'm not real familiar with it. Yep, I can tell you who to call. We were just talking about car washes and how nasty they can be, even though you'd think that they wouldn't be. So it's really up to them, and it's their call, and they would issue the permit and have the jurisdiction over that. So that would be another condition if the board or the committee does recommend approval, that you check into that and make sure that those are disposed of properly. And that's it.
That's it. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Jamie? Okay. All right, that concludes, wait a minute, the Mark Van, Watoma, Wisconsin has been withdrawn, so we will not be hearing that tonight. So that concludes our public hearing, and we will now have